What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Everything Sport Ricky. In the previous video I talked about the trade rumors involving Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham. I have Antonio Brown going to the Oakland Raiders, and it can happen as soon as this weekend, and I have Odell Beckham possibly going to the Cleveland Browns. I'm not quite confident about that one, but I gave my reasoning in the previous video. I have this signed football by Villapiano, the Raiders Hall of Famer. I just like to collect the memorabilia, even though I'm not a Raiders fan. So I'm gonna leave this football here for the entire video so you guys can just follow along. In this video actually we're gonna talk about the free agents. Next week is gonna be the first week where teams can sign free agents. The biggest player, the biggest name available in the market is probably Le'Veon Bell. There was a video yesterday that Le'Veon Bell was training with a Chiefs player, if I'm correct, it's Chris Jones, and it was exciting to actually train with that guy, and he hinted that he would like to play for the Chiefs. The Chiefs, they made some low-key moves in off-season because they released Houston and they tagged D Ford, but they may trade him away to create extra cap. It will make sense for the Chiefs to add Le'Veon Bell because they already have one of the best offense, and they lost Hunt in the regular season for obvious reason. Even though they are confident in Damon Williams, Le'Veon Bell is a completely different playmaker, like 3 steps above than Damon Williams. Le'Veon Bell will definitely take this offense to even an higher level and probably make this offense the best offense in football next season. While I'm sipping on a hot tea, let's jump on a few other names. Also, I mean, Le'Veon Bell besides Chiefs, he may be going to the Jets. I don't think the Colts are interested in Le'Veon Bell because I think they're gonna stick with Nyheim Hines. I think they believe in those guys. And also the Colts, they're not famous for making big signing in off-season. I think they're gonna, even though they have lots of cap, they're just gonna sign a bunch of key players that can contribute to their overall team, but they're not gonna spend lots of money on a singular player. So going next to the next player that I want to talk about, it's Collins, and I actually think that the Collins is gonna be a perfect target for the Colts. If the Colts are going to spend big money on a single player, it's going to be on the safety. And the biggest name out there, it's Collins. I was surprised that the Giants let him go. Collins has been one of the best safety in the league. The season that he had a couple years ago, if I'm correct, 2016, that was one of the best seasons for a safety in many years. It will be a perfect fit for the Colts secondary, a perfect pair with Hooker, and I will really love to see Landon Collins going there. Then another important name, which I'm kind of surprised that is available in free agency, it's CJ Mosley. The Ravens decide to cut Weddle to not give a franchise tag to Mosley. But they said that they're going to attempt to sign him back in off-season. That's a risky and dangerous move because that means that there will be other teams in the market that can make a counter offer for Mosley, and there are teams that have a major need at the linebacker position and that have more cap available than the Baltimore Ravens, so they could give Mosley more money. So that's a risky move. I actually believe that the Baltimore Ravens won't be able to sign him back. I would love Mosley to go to a team where he can shine. I think that there are few teams that need a linebacker desperately. I would love him to go, for example, for the Chargers. That will really elevate the defensive unit, who right now is a top 10 unit, but they need the interior lineman on the defense side of the ball, and they need a linebacker. Mosley will be a good fit there. It could be a good fit with the Steelers. I don't think though he will go there. The Steelers don't have much cap, and we will love Mosley for the Packers as well. So there are a bunch of scenarios where Mosley could go. The Raiders could be one. The Jets could be one. The Browns, since they released Jamie Collins, could be a perfect pair for Mosley. So there could be many scenarios, but whoever gets Mosley, I think they will probably sign one of the best linebackers in the league, and I think he's only like 28, so he still has a couple years left. Moving on, I'm just gonna say a couple names. I really don't like the wide receiver core in this free agency. I don't think we have that many great names. For me, there are a couple names that are interesting, like Golden Tate and Tyrell Williams, but I don't think they really deserve the money that they're gonna get once they are going to sign in the off season. Tyrell Williams, I would love the Colts to sign him, because or even the Saints, because he is really one of the best wide receivers as far as deep threat, and it's not easy to find those guys available in the draft or in free agency. I think he's gonna get paid, and I think he's gonna go in a team that need this specific type of wide receiver. And also Golden Tate, I think Golden Tate is a perfect fit for a team that has some experience, that a team that wants to win now. I think that either the Eagles sign him back or the Patriots should sign him. I think Golden Tate and Patriots is a major scenario that could happen. Also, if you are a Cowboys fan, why won't you like Golden Tate on your team? I think Golden Tate will be a perfect player to pair with Amari Cooper. Those are two different players, and Golden Tate will actually give Dak Prescott one more weapon that the Cowboys actually need on their offense, because they're gonna lose Beasley and Terry Williams. So at this point, they only have Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup, and Allen Ernst had a big injury. So I think that Golden Tate will make sense for them. I want to name a couple more names as far as wide receivers. I personally like John Brown. Jamison Crowder could be really interesting because he's super young. He's 24, and he had some good seasons early on. Last year, that was like his worst year with the Redskins, but the Redskins' offense overall kind of collapsed once Alex Smith went down. And I think Jamison Crowder could go to a team that kind of needs some speed on the offense. So it could be the cheapest signing as far as wide receivers in this off season, but it could be the biggest impact on their new team. I believe. And also Adam Humphries and Beasley, I think those guys they deserve more credit than what they usually get. Of course, they're not gonna get paid as a top wide receivers, but I think that they should go to a team that already has one or two good wide receivers, and they can contribute for the offense. So I'm gonna think at teams like, for example, the Broncos, because the Broncos, they're gonna bring back Sanders. They have a bunch of rookies, but if you can bring a veteran like Beasley or Humphrey, I think that can elevate the offense, and that can give an extra weapon for Joe Flacco or Keenum, whoever is going to start, for example. And also the Patriots could be a good fit for those guys, because they have Julian Edelman. In the past they had the Wes Welker, so Humphries and Beasley, they kind of remind me of those guys, and it will be another good addition for the Patriots there. And also there are other possible scenario. I think that the 49ers may be looking for another wide receiver. They don't have as much as cap space as other teams, so if they are going for a low budget wide receiver that can produce, I think Humphries or Beasley or even like John Brown could be a good fit for them. And also the Buccaneers, I think Jamison Crowder could be a good fit for the Buccaneers, since Deshaun Jackson is gonna hit free agency, Humphries as well, and they only have Mike Evans and Chris Goodwin. So Jamison Crowder could be a good fit for the Buccaneers, for example, or even like the Panthers, because they only have DJ Moore right now and Curtis Samuels. Moving on. The biggest name as far as offensive line going in free agency is going to be Trent Brown from the Patriots. I'm surprised that the Patriots haven't signed him back yet, and I'm also surprised that they didn't sign Trey Flowers yet back. I don't see many really good guards or tackles available. That's why I believe that the Giants may be interested in shipping Bacon for a first round pick and an offensive lineman. Nothing too crazy yet to talk. They're not gonna be major signing as far as offensive line. Then the biggest name out there as far as quarterback is Nick Foles. I'm just gonna say one thing: Nick Foles to the Jaguars is the perfect marriage. It makes super sense. You have a team that has a great defense, a great running back, a good offensive line, that actually has also a good wide receiver core. Instead of drafting a rookie quarterback that you don't know how this guy is going to turn out, you can bring in a veteran quarterback, a Super Bowl champion quarterback who is super clutch. Even though Nick Foles hasn't had many starting season, every time he started, he has shown some really talent. I think that the Foles with the Jaguars could be a playoff team. So for me, that would make perfect sense. And one more name that I want to bring in as far as quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater. I really wish the best for this guy. In my opinion, there are teams out there that are looking to bring in Teddy Bridgewater, but I don't think Teddy Bridgewater is gonna go to a team that needs starting quarterback, like for example the Jaguars. I think Teddy Bridgewater should go to a team, and maybe going to a team that needs a good backup, or that may need a quarterback to compete with the starting quarterback. So I think that Teddy Bridgewater may be going to the Dolphins, maybe going to the Redskins, and then once he goes to those teams, he can compete, and eventually he may be winning the starting job in during preseason, for example, or a few weeks into the regular season. So that's all I have to say about the offensive side of the football in as far as free agency. Before I switch to the defense, even though I already talked about Mosley and Collins, two more names: Mark Ingram and Tevin Coleman. In my opinion, Tevin Coleman is gonna go to the possibly to the Jets. Even though people are saying that Bell is going to the Jets, I think Bell Chiefs makes really sense. So if Bell actually goes to the Chiefs, the Jets are gonna go get Tevin Coleman. In my opinion, Mark Ingram is gonna go either to the Raiders or to the Steelers, one of those two teams. Or also pay attention to the Buccaneers. Bruce Arians said that he likes what he has seen from Peyton Barber. I think that they may bring in one more running back to compete for the starting role. And I think Mark Ingram will make sense since he played for the Saints, so he played in the same division as the Buccaneers. Defense side of the ball, I already talked about Collins and Mosley. Couple few names: Anthony Barr, 4-time Pro Bowlers. I think that the Chargers should get one of those two guys, but I think Anthony Barr is gonna get paid, even though he's coming off not one of his best season. Also, pay attention on Noah Alexander from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This guy was so hyped when he was drafted. Then he didn't have his best luck in the NFL, mostly because of injuries. I think that you can sign Non Alexander for cheap, and I think he can actually produce really good. And also Denzel Perryman, I think is gonna eventually sign back with the Chargers for a cheap deal. Defensive linemen, we don't have many important names as we had before. The Giants, though, they may release Oliver Vernon, which they signed him back a couple years ago for a huge contract. So that would be interesting to see if he kinda gets paid again. Also, Nangman Suh, once again hitting free agency. I think he's gonna sign for a team like the Detroit Lions, for example, again. I don't know. I think it could happen to bring him back, like to bring Suh back for like a cheap deal. It could happen. I mean, the Lions actually need help at defensive line. I don't know if Detroit Lions will be happy for that, but I think Sue has a couple years left. I mean, I think he had a good season with the Rams. And Trent Flowers, though, it's a name that I'm kind of surprised is available. He was a leader for the Patriots defense. I think that the Patriots they figure out that they can get someone else better than him. They can produce even better than Trent Flowers. You guys saw what happened to Jamie Collins. Once Jamie Collins left the Patriots and went to the Browns, signing an amazing deal, the guy didn't produce. So there are players that are system kind of players, but I personally think that Trent Flowers can produce with any team in the NFL. So he's a good, probably he's not like the biggest name out there, but any team that is going to sign him, they're gonna make a good deal. I think the Panthers may go after him, or even the Packers, for example. Or also the Rams, but the Rams they released Sue, so they may go after him. I think the Rams they're gonna sign back Dante Flower though. Secondary, we got a couple names. Jason Verrett, injury-prone cornerback from the Chargers. Talent-wise, he may be the best cornerback available in the off-season, but unfortunately, there is so much risk on this guy that I think he's not gonna get paid. I think a team is gonna sign him for 1-2 years on a really cheap deal. The Chargers may think to bring him back, and then we got Ronald Darby. I think he's not worth the money that he asking for. But we'll see. Then we got Roby from the Broncos. I'm actually surprised that the Broncos are letting him go, since they actually need help in the secondary. There are a bunch of teams that need cornerbacks. I would like one of those guys to go to the Buccaneers, because they need really help in the secondary. Also, make like Atlanta Falcons, they should spend money. So I think that the Atlanta Falcons should get either a defensive lineman in off season, or someone in the secondary to pair with Trufant. But besides that, I think they're not a mini big name out there. Justin Coleman, PJ Williams, they're not like starting cornerback for real. And then let's move on. Linebackers, as I said before, CJ Mosley, Anthony Barr, Non Alexander, Denzel Perry. I think those are the biggest name out there. And safety, though, safety probably is the class in this free agency that has the most attention, because we got Landon Collins, we got Earl Thomas, we got A.A. Clinton Dix, we got Eric Weddle, we got Amos. Do we get someone? We got Trey Bolston. Do we have someone else? I think we got someone else as well, but those are kind of the biggest name out there. Those are some of the best safeties available in the league. So I'm surprised that all of those guys are available at the same time. If teams need help in their secondary, and they especially need a safety, no other better time than this year. I mean, you got Landon Collins. I think it's gonna go to the Colts. Earl Thomas. Everybody's hinting that the Cowboys are trying to go sign him, but the Cowboys, they don't want to spend lots of money, and Earl Thomas wants to get paid. So I don't know if that's actually going to happen. I won't be surprised that Earl Thomas goes, for example, to the Browns, that needs a really good guy in the back, in the secondary. That would make really sense for me, in my opinion, or even the Raiders. Then we got Amos. I love Amos for the Bears. I don't know, he's super young. I don't know why they are letting him go. Eric Weddle, I mean, this looks like a perfect Cinderella story. It would be really nice if he goes back to the Chargers to retire there. He said it before that he doesn't want to go back to the Chargers, or he doesn't want to talk about the Chargers as long as this organization is there, the Spanos organization. But I think it would make sense, because his family, they know this area. He has best friends. He is Rivers' best friend. He already knows many of the players on the Chargers side. So we'll see. I think Eric Weddle is still a top safety, and he still has a couple years left on him. And also, to pair Derwin James with Eric Weddle, that will make the Chargers secondary really, really scary. Probably the best secondary in the league. And then we got Trey Bolston. Trey Bolston, even though it's not the biggest name out there, this guy can produce. Every year he produces. So we'll see where he goes. So those are all my predictions as far as off season. Next week we'll see if actually everything I said is going to be true. I will make a video next week after those guys start to get signed with their team. Let me know what you think in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe if you like this type of video. And next video we'll talk about draft prospect. Let me know in the comments where you think Le'Veon Bell is going to sign. Thank you again.